So in the last video we achieved a second copy of our home page, and I'll tell you, as an instructor, I love the fact that they added artboards to Illustrator, and I love it even more that they're in Photoshop. I like it when students ask me, do you like this better or do you like this better, rather than saying, hey, what do you think of this? And I say, well, did you consider flip-flopping this type around? So all you have to do is try it, and it's great for you for comparisons, and it's great for me to help you see those comparisons. And no reason to let the experimenting stop here. We can go ahead and launch out yet another artboard, try some variations with these same colors, or try something, a radical departure from what we have going on. So we can click on the carrots here and start with our original home page here, just selected here. When whichever page is selected, it gives you those little options around it. And this, by the way, is if you realize that this home page, the whole entire page was too big or too small, that's how you could add more room to that artboard or less room to the artboard. So I'll just do a Command Option Z to get back to where I was. And just so you know, and if you're used to Illustrator, Command Z, you can keep doing Command Z and it backs you up. But in Photoshop, Command Z actually does a flip-flop. It just takes you from one state to the state before that and then just back and forth. So if you actually want to back up from a state or two states or more, it's Command Option Z. So I want to try at least one more before I move on from here. So I will click the plus key here with the Option key held down, and then I can start changing my colors. And maybe in this one I want to go very traditional, really stay out of the way of the portfolio, so maybe just whites and blacks and grays. So here I have the third home page that I just made. I can go down to my background layer. Notice it keeps the names that you put in there the first time around, which is really helpful. It's, it makes it worth that effort of putting the names in there to start with. So I go down to my background layer, go over here to my foreground background color, and if I click right up here, it sets them to their defaults, which is black and white. So with this background layer selected, I can do the Command Delete, get the white in there, and then maybe start going around and changing these to more of a true gray. A quick little mention of what an actual RGB gray is. First of all, most of your default color panels will have grays in them, and since you chose to start working in RGB, they will be your true RGB grays. But just out of interest here, let's see what happens if you didn't have one, or how they're actually built. So I'll just pick this one, which puts that color over here. If I double click on it, what you'll see is that it's not like CMYK, where you would have 0, 0, 0, and then a number between 0 and 100% for the K or the black. That's okay if you're just doing one color printing on press. But just like in press, you get richer colors by mixing CMYK along with the black. In RGB, a true gray is an equal amount of red, green, and blue. So you'll see any of the digital true grays that you pick will have an equal blend of these. And then to change the color of the header and the footer that you made as a shape, you just want to make sure that you're actually clicking on it. So with auto select, it's just a matter of putting your mouse over and clicking it, or selecting that particular layer. And then if you just fly open the properties panel, then you see the color option there, can click it open, and then select which color you want from the choices here. So if you just want a light gray, voila, do the same to the footer. To change the color, style, size of your text, you just have to make sure that you're selecting it. Watch how my cursor changes. Right now, if I were to click and drag, I would end up creating a box to put text in. But once I get over a type area, you can see that the box changes, and I like to get right at the very front and then click and drag. So there I'm actually selecting the type. It's highlighted. Now I know that whatever change I make to it. And to change the color, it's really just as simple as going over to the swatches and clicking here. You could also click up here in the properties panel, but that just takes you into this menu here. Okay, so, and then when you have a bigger area of text, you can, I'll select away from what I just did, come back with the text tool, and then I can click and drag and try to select the whole thing all at once, but if it's a big area, sometimes it's just quicker to get a little bit selected and then do Command A, which stands for select all, and then make the change that you want it to make there. With very little investment of time, we now have 3 different versions of the site, and maybe we're thinking, maybe this needs just a little pop of color that hopefully wouldn't get in the way of the work. So let's try it real quick. Again, just click on the last page that you did to enter the artboard mode. Now I'm probably too zoomed out here, so let me Command plus a couple times to get in a little closer. Okay, we'll click on this artboard 3 to wake it up. Well, rather than just brush over that, I should tell you that I encountered a little bit of an error. Normally you expect when you click on one of these pages for it to become highlighted and for you to get the arrows, and I didn't. So I went up here and I had to change. So for some reason, it kind of got stuck, and it didn't automatically change. So all I had to do is come up here, change it to the artboard tool, and then they appeared. So no big deal. But let's try one more design real quick here. So once again, repeat the step with the Option key held down in the click, which brings all the graphics in. So you think, oh, maybe Graphic Designer Red will be perfect in here. So maybe just the company name / logo, and then maybe just the page that you're on. Now, even though you have the text tool selected, you have to release this selection before you can make another one. In fact, if I click and drag right now, it'll probably just end up moving this around. So if I just come back up here to the move tool and even just click on it one time and then click back on the text tool, now I can continue on and make another selection. And there I accidentally made a text box, got too hasty, so it created a new layer for me. So I'm going to click on that layer, click the trash can. Yes, I want to get rid of that. I'm back at the text tool, and this time I want to make sure that I am indeed dragging across there, and then we'll switch colors. And somewhere along the way of playing around with colors, you probably want to try out another option, a different layout, positioning, sizes for the buttons, and so on. And once again, the process is the same. We just click on that plus button. We're quickly up to 5 different versions of the home page. This one I'm going to try some greater changes. Maybe I want to make this almost on the left over here look like a mobile menu, and then have most of my content over here. So first thing I could do here is just grab the text tool and draw out an area here for a new menu, and then just type in the home, maybe 2 spaces, and print portfolio, and so on. If I really want to fine tune the spacing in here, I'll just select all of it, and if you want to fine tune the location of this box or the space between the type, just remember it's a matter of getting in here with the text tool, and then we can change those defining edges of the text box like this. And then if we wanted to change the distance that's between there, remember that's the leading, so we want to get into the character panel from Windows, character panel, and then change the amount of leading up or down. Now I have 2 spaces in there right now. I could have just left 1 space and then just really beefed the leading up. I also may want that a little bit bigger, since it's kind of a predominant menu over there, that the individual text itself a little bit bigger. That's probably just a touch too big. Okay. Let's say I want this to all be the same color over here. So I'll start with the color that I have for the header. Obviously I need to change the color for the type too. But here's another way that you can work with resizing this header. So I just want to make sure that it is what I have selected. I have auto select on. So when I click there I can see I have the header layer. And then if I do Command T for transform, it gets a box around it. Another way, I'll tell you to do that just in case you have trouble remembering the shortcuts, is you would just go up to, make sure again that it's selected, and you go to Edit, and then it is down near, you have Transform, and then what we actually selected was the one right above it, which is Free Transform. So Command T, and then what that does is give you those handles, and you can move that around till you get what you're after. And then to commit that change you just made, you just simply hit return and it becomes the new size. The footer, probably in the way for now, but instead of delete it, why don't we just click the eyeball off. The old menu, I'm quite sure I won't need that anymore, so I'll just select it, and you can see there's only one part of it that you can visibly see anymore because of the different colors in there, or the same colors I should say. But I'll select that layer, and I will actually hit the trash can for that one, and it's gone. And now I can start changing color of this type. Definitely try to find some kind of an alignment over here. And it's just a matter of looking for opportunities to stabilize the design. Like these three elements in here, this, and this are all lined up to the left edge. There was an opportunity for an alignment here, so we took advantage of it. This looks like it's spaced out nicely in here. And maybe we want to keep experimenting, see what it looks like if we actually have like a header over here, just a small one that has just the name of the company in it, maybe a logo. Maybe it does look like it has a footer in here. While you're waiting for more possible ideas to strike you for the home page, it's probably time to move on to another page. Now, for our purposes, and I'd recommend this anytime, is the next page that you design isn't necessarily the next page chronologically, like in your menu or whatever. It would be what you consider to be the most important page. Sometimes that's the home page. If it is, then pick the second most important page. But don't just pick a random page like the contact page. That's somewhat insignificant. So on a portfolio website, it would definitely be the portfolio page or one of the portfolio pages. Like in this case, the portfolio is broken down into categories of print and interactive, and then you just probably pick whichever one you think is most impressive or more important for your job market. And so then it's back to picking, or not picking a page, but going back into artboard mode. I'll Command minus here out just a little bit more, and in this case we're going to click the plus, pick a page that you think is worthwhile, one of your favorites up here, and then do that option click so that you're started out a little bit. And then a lot of things are going to be easy to change. You just have to flip-flop the colors from the home to the print portfolio, get rid of this. Okay, and then I just copy and pasted different text in here that it's going to go along with the image that I want to bring in. Now, there's a couple different ways of bringing images inside of Photoshop. In this case, what I'm going to suggest you do, because you're probably going to be doing a lot of experimenting in here and using the same images over and over. Well, each time you actually add an image into a file, you create a much bigger file. It grows by the size of that image once again. So I would suggest that you just work out of a folder for your website and that you actually place the images in. So what that means is that this file that you're working on should get saved inside of that folder, but inside of that folder is also where all your portfolio images should be contained. So I've put together a folder here. The overall name of the folder is just Steve G Design 2016, so that'd be the name of my website. And then inside of here I have all my portfolio images that I've gathered up, and then I'm just going to save this Photoshop document as Steve G Design Ideas and keep it in the Photoshop document, save it in this folder here, and then from now on I want to get in the habit of carrying that whole entire folder with me.